All right. Good afternoon to you both. Thank you for your patience with us. I know it's been a long wait for y'all. Believe it or not, we are nowhere close to done, but we are ready to handle your case, which means we're close to being done for the two of you. The way that this case will proceed is as follows. It's the petitioner's case and burden of proof. So she will go first. She will make her statement. What will follow from there is an opportunity to pose questions for that witness. And then after that, an opportunity to testify, which is to make your own statements. So that is how we will proceed. I'll go ahead and ask both parties to unmute for me and raise your right hands, please. Do you swear that any statements you make today will be the truth under penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. And sir, you're muted. I think you may need to unmute.
I do.
All right. Thank you both. All right. Ma'am, state your name for the record, please.
My name is Norafrica Lee.
All right. And to the best of your knowledge, is the respondent a resident of DeKalb County?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell me how, what your connection is to this person.
I have no connection with him. He is an ex friend of my son's.
All right. So your petition references a point in, I believe, May, where he was told not to return to your home. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. By the Henry County Police Department where I reside.
Okay. And does your son reside there as well?
Yeah, he do.
Okay. So you told him not to return. And what happened next? Or what happened in the time since, I guess is the question I'm asking.
So after Henry County Police Department was called because he refused to leave my home on the night in questioning or whatever, there has been numerous attempts of him coming back to my home, him going in my mailbox, him being within 30 to 40 feet across from my home for hours, just standing at the stop sign. He's followed me and my disabled children from my street to the store, and he's texted repeatedly, called repeatedly from different I guess you would call them text now numbers or something like that.
So let me jump in for a second. I have a few things I want to hone in on. So when he's at your house, well, let me start with this. The time that you asked him to leave when the police came out in May, was he did he tell you what he wanted or what he was seeking to accomplish?
Yeah, he said he wasn't leaving until he came to until he talked to my son.
Okay. Did your son happen to be at the house or not be at the house?
One time he wasn't, a couple of times he was, but my son refused to come out. My son is 20 years old. Mr. Gibson is 26. It's really a control thing, but my son have not really had any dealings with him for the last couple of weeks.
Okay. And so when he followed you, it was you and some minor children, but not
well, Philip, my son was in the car with me, but so I have three children that reside in the home with me. Two of them are my daughter is disabled and my oldest son is disabled. He's autistic and he have Down syndrome.
Okay. And so he continues to return to the house in the last 2 months, or let's say 2.5 months or so since you gave him that warning. How many times would you estimate he's come to the house?
At least 10 or 15.
Okay. What do you have any information in that time about contact that your son is or is not having with him, such as inviting him to the house or anything like that?
So it was an incident where they ended up having to go to some events together where they were together, and then one incident where they ended up out to eat. But you know, just like I told the man who I spoke with before you, regardless of what my son and Marcus had going on, I asked him to leave because of the couple of times that I asked him to leave repeatedly. He sat on my porch for hours, would not leave. That's why Henry County issued the criminal trespass against him, because He was just like, I'm not going anywhere till I talk to him. He would call me. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I work for the school system. So
Now,
I mean,
why is he calling you?
my point exactly, trying to get to my son, and my son don't want to deal with it,
Okay. So are any of these things like accompanied with like a conditional threat or if he doesn't, or is the idea kind of, I'm just never there's no other end to this encounter other than me being able to see him?
Well, I don't know what his intentions are, but it is becoming a problem with me. I'm a victim of abuse, and I don't want to go into my history or whatever, but I've seen this happen and turn bad, and I've had situations to occur, but if somebody is respectfully asking you not to come to their home, or can you leave, Philip is not on my deed, or whatever. So Philip can get up and leave at any time. I still have to live here. And when you're disturbing my peace and my children's peace, it's a different situation. You're riding by, going to my mailbox, you're texting me, you're following me. It becomes a real bad issue at this point, and I'm just not understanding, why are you bothering me?
So if your son and Mr. Gibson want to have contact on their own terms outside the home, that's not an issue for you, but you don't want him coming around unexpected or unsolicited is essentially your viewpoint.
Yeah, but my son don't want to have any contact with him. He have not had any contact with him. And a couple of times, after the first or second incident, before I even started calling the police, when it became excessive, my son was just like, he felt sorry because, he kept, begging him to come back, and he had talks with me like, I don't know what to do. I love him so much, but it was only within a couple of weeks' times.
So do you ever feel like Mr. Gibson has made threats to you or anything similar to that?
Yes.
And explain that.
So even the day of the incident, he came to my son's job. My son's supervisor at
before we get too far into this, were you actually, whatever you're about to tell me, were you here to see this firsthand and experience it?
So when my son called me, I drove to the job. So I experienced I did see I didn't experience him in the job, but when I got to the job, he was circling around the job. He was still circling around in his blue car.
You're saying that you saw him at your son's place of employment, and Mr. Gibson was in his blue vehicle.
Yes, and he was driving around and around, and he would not leave. And then when the police pulled in, Mr. Gibson pulled off.
It sounds like this is a known public. What is the workplace?
Waffle House. And
okay. So, but what the question I had a moment ago was, do you feel that he has threatened you or made threats toward you?
I was about to get to that point. So after the Waffle House incident, that's why I was trying to give you the short, brief story leading up to. So when I got to the supervisor, which they know me, the supervisor and a couple of employees, I walked in to get. He was just like, Mom, just come get me because I don't know what he's gonna do or whatever. At this point, he could do anything. I went in, the supervisor told me what happened or whatever. I then waited for the police, spoke with Stockbridge police because where I live, it's like Stockbridge and then Henry County. So I was told by the officers to come home and call the police. I came home, I dialed 911, called Henry County, I let them know that he had a trespassing warning or whatever. And the officer actually came to the house. When he came to the house, he actually called, he asked me for Mr. Gibson's number. After speaking to the officer, Mr. Gibson popped up. Again, I was riding to the store, popped up. I'm leaving my home. He's coming down. My baby girl was like, Mama, there he go right there. I was like, no, that ain't him. Not after speaking to the police and him asking the officer asking him to leave. I made a quick left turn and went up. And lo and behold, he was driving real fast. He stopped his car in the middle of the street, spun it around. And as I came back down, I go to the stop sign, make a right, and I go on about my way because I'm thinking, okay, he rolled past me. When I get to my destination, which was the corner store by my house, Mr. Gibson was out with his arms, folded. I just want to talk to you. I said, you know what? At this point, it's too much. It's too much. My daughter was scared. She was like, Mom, I don't know what he's gonna do. She's fearing for what he's gonna do. I'm fearing for what he's gonna do. It's too much. And that's not the first time he's followed me.
Okay, but so he didn't make a threat, but it's the following and the looming and the insistence on talking and so on. That's the okay. All right. Mr. Gibson, you're going to have a chance to testify if you choose to testify. Do you have questions that you wish for the court to ask this witness?
Yes.
Okay, what's your first question?
I just want to know, as far as the going in the mailbox and things like that, it never happened. But because I know I'm aware that she has
hang on, you're going to have a chance to testify, but first, this is just
okay.
So do you
okay,
have
well, I don't have
questions
no
or you
questions.
just
I don't
wish-
have no questions.
All right. Well, in that case, ma'am, did you have any other witnesses you intended to have testify that are on the call?
Well, yeah, Philip, they said once I was doing the hearing, he couldn't be in the car. I had to get him so he couldn't hear what I was saying. So you want me to get him now?
Yes, please.
Mike,
How you doing?
All right. Good afternoon. Can I have you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you swear any statements you make will be the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. State your name for the record, please.
Philip Jenkins.
All right. We're here today discussing a protective order filed by Ms. Lee against Mr. Gibson. Have there been occasions over the last 6 weeks or so where you have observed Mr. Gibson around your home after he had noticed not to be there?
have you witnessed him being here?
Yes.
At your house, at or around your house?
No.
Not the last couple. Ask the question again, Your Honor.
So I'm sorry, from May to now, I guess really it's about 2 months at this point. So I'm sorry, let me back up because you weren't here to hear the other testimony. Was there a point that you're aware of that Mr. Gibson was told to leave your home by the police?
Yes.
Okay, was that mid-May, early to mid-May? Okay, you nodded yes.
Yes.
How many times would you estimate that you've seen him around the house since then?
More than 10?
Okay, has he been contacting you during that 2-month period?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you told him at any point not to contact you?
Yeah, I haven't responded though.
Okay, do you know, do you have any reason or way to know whether, directly know whether he has contacted your mother?
My mom have his number blocked, but he calls. He's the only person that caller ID. Nobody else calls us like that.
Okay, so you're getting calls that say no caller ID or are coming from random numbers. And the belief is that that would be coming from him. Did your family used to receive those calls before May? So this is something that has started since in the same time frame that the issues with you and Mr. Gibson started.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gibson, do you have any questions for this witness?
No, I do not. Hold on, I do actually, since this is who it's about. I think I heard you that you mentioned that have he had any contact with me since the no trespassing thing. So were we not texting each other since May, since this no trespassing thing, or the night of that time where you text me and said you should have just left it made it things worse or whatnot. You haven't texted me anything or saw me or went out of town with me since then or anything.
That wasn't before. No. That was
I'm saying
after.
after the no trespassing thing.
This is permanent. That's just the temporary one.
We're two ships passing in the night right here. So his question, we're going to focus in on exactly what he's asking. Have you two texted at all since he was told to leave by police? Have you texted him at all?
Yes.
Okay. Someone said something about taking a trip together or going away together. Has there been an incident since that time in mid-May that you and Mr. Gibson either traveled together for any reason?
Yeah, that was June.
That was June. Okay, and where was that to?
Nashville.
Okay. And how long was the trip?
A day.
Tell them what the trip was.
It was for a concert, but it was one day.
And y'all had already purchased it.
All right.
Okay.
So, and so have you made plans to see Mr. Gibson or spend time with Mr. Gibson between May and now, other than that?
With the concert, yeah.
No, other than the concert.
He pop up here and there.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gibson, I know sometimes I just have to butt in and ask the questions I want to ask, but do you have other questions that you want to ask?
I heard you mention that. Was there any other times in the concert? There's other times in the concert. We have been with each other this whole time since May, even though we had that situation.
Well, hang on. I'll
be like,
all right.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna wait till it's time for me to testify. I'm done questioning.
Okay. All right.
May I add the mailbox thing? He said he hadn't been in my mailbox. My son is right here.
He hasn't said anything. He hasn't testified at all because he hasn't been under oath and taken the stand as a witness. So
okay, I just want to out the mailbox. He did go in my mailbox because he placed things in my mailbox that he.
You will have a chance to question him about all of that, but that needs to come after he testifies.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Gibson, you have been sworn in. And I'm sorry, Miss Lee, I didn't ask, but that was the only witness you intended to call, correct?
Yes, my daughter is not here. I was gonna call her, but I didn't know if she could like testify or not because she is a minor. So I wasn't sure.
Okay, well, that's fine. So, Mr. Gibson, you've been sworn in. What would you like to tell us today?
Okay, so since the no trespassing thing came about, I actually called the police that night because before I came, I told him I was coming. I told Philip that I was coming to get something that I gave him that we was actually sharing together, and because he was acting weird or whatever, and we was in a relationship at this time, and he has texted my phone and asked me that same night was I coming, and I didn't respond back because I was driving or whatever, and so I came that night and asked him for my stuff or whatever, and it was sitting on the porch, and then I told him did he want to come outside to talk. And he was like, get your stuff and go or whatever. So I was like, okay. So I'm like, why is you acting like this? Because I'm under the impression that we're in a relationship. And my definition, we're in a relationship and if something's not going right or somebody feels some type of way, I talk about it or whatever. And so that's when I did proceed to leave. I had got in my car because his dad called my phone. I guess he had his dad call my phone. And I talked to his dad.
Sorry to interrupt. Does he reside at the same location or a different location?
I never met his dad before. It just a random number called my phone, and they said it was his dad. So I don't know if he lived there or not. But so as I proceeded to leave, his mom came outside after I got done talking to his dad. She came outside and shot a gun or whatever, fired a gun, and that's when I called the police or whatever because she shot the gun and told them what happened. And they just said, just don't come back over or whatever, no trespassing, da, da, da. So that same night, he texted me and was telling me this long paragraph thing or whatever, or what he was saying about what happened. And we continue our relationship, and we were still talking, seeing each other. And I guess that's probably the 20 times over 20 times she was trying to say I'm harassing him, but me and him was actually still in a relationship. So I don't see how I'm harassing somebody that I'm having intercourse with or anything that nature or whatever. And so that's why I'm kind of confused about this whole thing about the harassing thing, because I don't harass him. And
So
within the past,
what would happen when you would come to these incidents that you think she's talking about? You come to the house, and then what happens?
Well, since they did the no trespassing thing, he didn't want his mom to know about me, so he was still talking to me. So I would meet him either down the street at the stop sign down the hill, and or meet him up the street at the store, gas station somewhere. He'll walk up there and stuff, and or he want me to go pick up his niece and nephews and stuff like that. I've dropped them off. He'll ride with me to go get them and bring them back to the house. Other than that, I keep my car up on top of the street or whatever, and I never came in her yard unless she told me to. When I came over there and talked to her one time or whatever, and but
so you're saying that your
nothing don't
practice
never happen.
typically, your typical practice since the no trespass warning is that you will drive near, and then you will have already arranged a meetup spot with Mr.
Right.
Jenkins.
Right.
Okay.
And he
in
also
what way do you usually make that arrangement?
We talk on the phone to each other, or we're texting each other.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Carry on.
And so I don't know what else to say other than I just feel like this is just not something that nobody's feared for their life or anything. As far as the mailbox, I never been in their mailbox. I don't touch nobody's mailbox. I haven't even left nothing in no mailbox. Everything that I've gotten him or bought for him, we was in the store together, and he has it, in a bag, and he carried it to the house or whatever it is. If I need to get him something or whatever, I give it to him in his hands or something like that. Never touched their mailbox or anything. So I just want to see if there was something showing that I was in their mailbox. If there's nothing, then it just saying stuff or whatever. So because I don't touch nobody's mailbox. So I never came to the house, damaged any property. I never came and was belligerent or anything of that nature. I was always respectful of her. I never called her out her name. I always was very polite and everything. So that's all I really have to say.
All right, Miss Lee, do you have questions for this witness?
Yes. He said now I'm on the mailbox thing. He said he never, been in my mailbox or whatever. Philip is right here, and Philip can testify to him leaving what it was, the speaker, and what else he left?
The battery pack.
The speaker and a battery pack in my mailbox. I just felt violated with that. I put that in there, but you should know not to come to someone's house. So,
You're saying you felt violated because he left something there?
In the mailbox. He have no right to go in my mailbox. I don't care if he's dropping off something. If you're not the post person, I just want to ask him, did you not put a speaker in the battery pack in the mailbox?
We both know that I did not put. Me and Philip both know when I get the speaker back, and when he get in my car and we make up or whatever, he grabbed the speaker out my back seat and take it back in the house. There's no time I ever been in that mailbox. Why would I leave a speaker in his mailbox and I'm coming over there? I stay 20 minutes away from him. So why would I drive 20 minutes to put something in the mailbox and I'm there to see him? And he had the speaker. He had the speaker this whole time. When have I ever had time to put something that I don't have in my possession in your mailbox? And if it was a problem with me leaving the mailbox, why does he still have the item?
Because it was a gift. Okay, my next question. How many times have I asked you since the no trespassing, had I asked you to leave me out of this and leave my family out of this? I want to know how many times I asked you to leave us out of this and leave us alone. Because I have since the criminal trespass.
Let him answer the question.
Since that, I only talked to you about you telling me to stay away on the text messages that you sent me. You said to stay away. You said something about the phone because me and him had an incident about when he left his phone, and you said that was the only time you said something like that. Because other than that, I really don't have any contact with you.
All right. So how many times has she told you other times to stay away or leave her and
It
her
was just
family
that.
alone?
It was just that one time.
All right. So what other questions do you have, Ms. Lee? Ms. Lee, you're on mute. I think you'll have to click to unmute. See if this gives you an extra button to do that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
On the day when you followed me to the store, I just want him to testify under oath. What did I say to him exactly at the store after he followed me and my daughter and my phone?
Okay, so we're gonna break this down into pieces. So the day that she was going to the store, who all did you see with her, Mr. Gibson?
I don't recall a day following her to no store. So yeah.
Is there a point that you two have had verbal contact since the trespass warning in May?
Yes, sir.
I'm asking, I gotta ask Mr. Gibson, I think.
I thought you were asking me.
Have me and her had verbal contact since we had contact? I talked to her before at her house when she said I can come over. That's the only time. Other than
When
that,
was that in relation to the trespass warning?
I do not remember. I think that was May. It had been May 27th, I believe.
So 2 to 3 weeks later. All right. He does not acknowledge following you to a store, ma'am. And so that kind of puts a stop to the end of that line of questioning. That's just how it works. Yes, ma'am.
The day that he's talking about I invited him over, that's the day he stood outside the stop sign right outside my house for 3 hours. I thought Philip was in the car with him. Philip was downstairs. He begged me to come and talk. So I gave him permission to come and just state his claim one more time. And he said all of that stuff. And I told him that day, the day that he followed me, and on several text messages, to please leave me alone. He's lying.
Can I say something? Because if you send all these text messages and stuff, can you please? Can you show? It's like everything you're saying, you're saying it. Because I submitted all my stuff to back myself up, and there's everything on paper. So that's just those text messages are from that same night. So I'm saying, is there any other messages that you have? Because you said I called you from 5 different numbers. Where are the 5 numbers that I called you from? Like, where are they? Because I don't have 5 numbers. So that's why I'm like, where is it? I don't need to call you from no other numbers or nothing like that. I just talked to him. Like, even last week after this situation, and I'm gonna bring it up. If your son feel like he don't want to be bothered with me or whatever the case may be, he said out his in text messages and over the phone that he was agreeing to be for us to be friends. So I was cool with us being friends and let it be. And then now it's like, oh, Marcus is harassing me or whatever. And I'm like, how? And why would you tell a person that you want to be friends with that they're harassing you? Like, this is like a relationship thing where you go through something and then now you put your mom involved and then she's going to go above and beyond for her child. Like, I understand you're going to do that for your child, but it's not given that I'm harassing your child, because your child is still feeding into like my mom. She knows about this situation, but she's not going to keep putting herself in it. But if I'm going to continue to keep talking to him, that's what I'm trying to say. If he's going to continue to talk to me, why push it this far? If you feel like you're in danger or your safety is at risk or whatnot, that's why I'm not understanding. Because we just talked to each other last week. Follow me on Instagram and all. Like, if you feel that way.
So how many times have you called her?
I don't call. This past time, I probably called her one time. And I called her one time, and that was May. I gotta go back to my thing. It was a time where he texted me something, and I was calling her, and I called her to ask he was with her, because he told me he had turned his location off, and that was that other time I called her. But I don't know. That was it. There was no other time. Cause she was like, he's with me at the store, da, da, da. And yeah. Even like yesterday, I could show messages from yesterday with his friend on Instagram telling me, oh, he said he still love you and this and third. He wants you to watch this movie and stuff
Okay.
like.
All right, Your Honor.
Here's the thing. What were you gonna say, Miss Lee?
What I just like I told the gentleman before you came on, whether they decide to see each other or not, Your Honor, that's between them. I feel a way for him calling me. I'm not making this up. I have my text messages too, or whatever. I have Philip to say have called me for several numbers. Why would I go to the link? If y'all gonna deal with each other, that's y'all. He's never been inside of my home. I don't approve of the relationship, don't approve of their lifestyle or whatever. Never had a good vibe with him or whatever. From the day I told him to stay away from me, he should have did that. Just like Philip told him, you should just listen to my mom and left. I would not go. DeKalb County is a good little ways from Stockbridge. I have a busy life. I have no time to be running to the courthouse, doing all this stuff or whatever, just because he want to deal with my son. Stay away from me and my children, the other ones, because if anything happens to me, after this or whatever, this is too much. I've seen stalking situations where the lover gets so upset.
Well, that's not here. A rude awakening for every petitioner that comes to this court is what I'm about to say right now. Nobody in this world has ever gotten a protective order from the state of Georgia because of something that might happen. You get protective orders in the state of Georgia because of things that have happened. And so I don't discount anybody having concerns and feeling them, because those instincts are what lead people to come to the court for evaluation of their case. But we're not going to spend time breaking those down, fair or unfair, because that's not what we're here to decide. So here's the question I have as part of this. If I'm understanding right, you've seen him near your house, around your house. How many times has he come onto the property without your invitation since the trespass? I think you got to unmute, Miss Lee.
At least 10 times.
And when he comes on the property, what does he do?
Different things or whatever, you know.
Pick one and give me an example.
So he's sitting on the porch. I'm asking him to leave or whatever. Now, the times he come to my home, I was out of town or either not at home. I was at 2 prayer revivals, and I seen him on my camera. But the incidents in hand is him following me, him texting me.
Hang on a second, because I need to unpack some of this other stuff. Part of what you said a few minutes ago was that you're fine with him and your son continuing on whatever they choose to as adults, separate and away. You would acknowledge that you don't know what conversations your son has continued to have with Mr. Gibson over these last 10 weeks, right?
Yes.
So you don't know on a given day, was he invited by Mr. Jenkins? Does Mr. Gibson think that he's going to pick up Mr. Jenkins at the stop sign or the end of the road or the top of the hill or whatever? You would acknowledge that it's possible that those communications take place.
Yes, sometimes he pops up, and sometimes I don't know. Oh, you're right. I don't know, but
okay.
I know. Yeah.
The only person that is filed for an order is you, correct?
Yes, the officer said that because my son was 18, he had to file his own order or whatever, and to do mines through the ex parte people or whatever, due to me having.
Yeah, each adult needs their own if they want to pursue it, but to the best of your knowledge, yours is the only one that's been filed.
like I said, it's for the stalking, harassing, if someone don't want you, around their home. I don't rent here, I own my home. Following me to the store, texting me repetitively, calling me, just stay away. But he haven't done that. He haven't done that. And I don't care what Philip said, this is not Philip's home, this is my home.
Well, sort of. This is another thing people don't like to hear. I don't think you knew this in the delivery room. I think this is the second time I've had to say this today. I don't think you knew this in the delivery room, but you became a landlord. You didn't become a landlord until Philip turned 18, but when he turned 18, you weren't just his mama, you were his landlord. And there are legal and life complications that come with that special birthday. So that's not at the core of what we're here to unpack today. It was right at the middle of one of the other cases we had to deal with, but this is a challenging situation when you're telling him to stay off the property. At best, we would all acknowledge that there are mixed messages here. Is that you are telling him to stay away, you're trying to set boundaries, and in a certain school of thought, and coming from a certain upbringing, the expectation would be that you as the actual homeowner and the person in charge and the parent and the elder and all of those titles that we earn as we accrue more years on this earth, that those boundaries would be set and respected for any number of reasons.
Yes, sir.
There are separate and distinct questions legally that have to be answered. A trespass warning can be done by anybody at any time, for any reason or no reason at all. His ability to, I don't want to, I guess your son, whether your son can circumvent that, for example, by inviting Mr. Gibson somewhere or someplace himself, that's kind of a complicated question in a situation like this. And then the other piece of this that has to be answered is that what you're asking the court to decide, he hasn't said anything threatening. He hasn't made threats. He seems to be incredibly persistent. And then the question that the court is left to answer is whether the overwhelming amount of contact, that might have gone on over this time is, is directed toward you without your consent and in a way that is for the purpose of intimidating and harassing. And it is a concerning quantity, but what were you going to say, Miss Lee? Click that.
I want you, Your Honor, to question Philip about the stalking. He was there with the stalking, the harassing, the text messages, because like I said, I can't stop their communication. I can't. You said yourself, he's 18 years old. But I want you, Your Honor, to question Philip about how many times I've asked him to stop. And that's my whole issue.
How many times right, but
I asked Mr. Gibson to stop contacting me, following me, harassing me.
Right. But
and this was after the criminal trespass.
Right. But the term intimidating and harassing, or I think it's harassing and intimidating, that's a legal term that has its own definition in the context of these orders. And the part of this, the trespass warning is no matter what happens, the trespass warning it's a trespass warning. He's supposed to stay off your property.
Mm-hmm.
If he fails to do that, the police can choose to bring charges against him. But the conduct that he's doing has to be directed to you for the purpose of harassing and intimidating you. And then that term is defined in a specific way legally that at its core mostly boils down to your physical safety. And what we have here is a relationship that you don't approve of that continues to go on with your son who lives in your house. It might be on and off. It might be on again, off again, and have its ups and downs. Most relationships do, no matter the age, but especially in your 20s, that's how that goes. But the conduct that's being undertaken here, I think we all agree that the contact between you and Mr. Gibson at the end of the day is not about you. It's about your son. It's not to intimidate and harass you, though I'm sure you find it incredibly, I would describe it as annoying. And so the two advisements that I'm going to give everybody are going to be these two things. We already talked about the trespass. It's 4:20. Y'all have been very patient. I'm not going to say all that again. The other advisement is this: other forms of communication, specifically electronic communication, phone calls, text messages, emails, social media posts, those types of electronic communication are covered by the harassing communication statute, which sets out that that is a misdemeanor crime to repeatedly contact someone against their wishes or without their consent. What Ms. Lee is expressing today is that she wishes for Mr. Gibson to have no contact with her, and that's being spelled out clearly as day, in case there was any doubt about that. That Mr. Gibson should not be on her property. He should not contact her electronically or otherwise. The protections that are in place by law in the form of the trespass statute and the harassing communication statute, those protections apply with or without a protective order. Police can bring charges with or without a protective order. They would bring slightly different charges if there were a protective order. But my finding for today is that even though I am severely concerned about the quantity of contact, or I will say presence, some of these don't involve direct interactions, but they involve proximity. I'm concerned about the amount of this, but the purpose and intent laid out in the stalking statutes that's required for me to issue the order, I don't have enough evidence to say that this is the appropriate decision for today. Mr. Gibson, I think we've all been able to figure out what boundaries there are. If you and Mr. Jenkins continue to be in contact with each other, that's between you and Mr. Jenkins as adults. You're not permitted on the property. You're not, insofar as she has already told you not to contact her. If you do contact her, that is harassing. And the one thing I tell everyone when a stalking order is not extended is that I have never said no to a stalking order. I have only ever said not yet. And what that means is that if anything else happens, it gets added to the petition gets refiled, and we do all this again for her to essentially ask the straightforward question, what about now, Judge? Does this put us over the line? And so we do that when we have to. Understand and respect those boundaries. It seems like, for whatever consolation this may be, she does not wish to interfere in whatever is going on between the two of you, but she wants to be out of it, and she wants her minor children to be out of it, which is a better position to be in than one where she wished to actively interfere, or one where she wished to keep Mr. Gibson and Mr. Jenkins apart. So for whatever that's worth, any plans you two may have together, make those plans in accordance with those wishes, because even with Mr. Jenkins's invitation to come get him or come meet him, if it was on his property, you would be running the risk of the police just being left to decide who was in the right and who's in the wrong. If one person said stay away and one person said come visit, and that's not a position that any police officer or any court ever wants to see you in the middle of. because there are no right answers, only wrong answers when you get put with that. And so stay off the property, do not contact her for any reason. The order that will be issued by me is what's called dismissal without prejudice. And if Ms. Lee needs to refile her petition due to additional contact or presence on her property, then she is encouraged to do so when needed. We're going to place you both back in the waiting room and you'll be free to log off.